Good evening. Scheduled meeting of the Mayor and City Council of College Park. I'm Bianca Motley Broom, the mayor, and it is 7:33. We have all council members in attendance, making a quorum, so I will call the meeting to order at this time. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States
of
America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next order of business is the invocation. Is that going to be done by Pastor Dent this evening?
Yes, she's on.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and greetings to everyone. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your presence and ask that you guide us and direct us in all truth during this council meeting. We pray for the leaders of our country, our mayor, council, and their families. Many blessings to them as they continue to be bold and relevant stewards in the city of College Park. Please help them to make decisions during these times of grave concerns regarding the health and safety of our citizens. We have gone too far with our lives for the freedom we had. In COVID-19, we know that we need to be more responsible. As the whole world has come together to fight against this threat, with your divine intervention, we are surely going to win this battle. And Father, we are mindful to acknowledge the transition of two civil rights legends, Reverend C.T. Vivian and Congressman John Lewis, honorable men dedicated to seeking racial justice and reconciliation. Let us remember them for their lives and battles they won. May their lives keep on shining bright for humanity throughout eternity. Bless now our city, first responders, healthcare workers, city staff, and businesses. I pray in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
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 Item number 2 is additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I have 3 items, if I may, please.
Yes, sir.
And primarily based on what we discussed during the workshop meeting, as well as one of the executive session dialogues. And I propose that they be added for item 6E. That would be the agreement consideration involving Peachtree Government Relations. Similar for 6F involving the Ferguson Group for federal lobbying services. And 6G, which would be the revenue enhancement agreement consideration involving Venture Denmark, a brief discussion as to what that role and function is all about, as well as to provide an opportunity for council to offer direction accordingly.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept those changes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? That's a unanimous one. All right, thank you. The agenda is amended as noted.
Madam Mayor, if I can.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I'd just like to take a moment here to thank. Friday afternoon, we had a structure fire on West Point Avenue over near the cement factory that could have gotten way out of hand very, very quick in this city. Could have stopped some airplanes, caused a lot of damage. But we had a lot of help, not only from the College Park Fire Department, but the East Point Fire Department, City of Atlanta. I think the airport sent a truck over there, Clayton County, City of South Fulton, and the Environment Protection Agency was also there. But we had a number of firemen, and I mean, they were in harm's way while we were sitting at home watching TV, sitting on the porch, drinking a beer, having a pizza. And I just want to thank Chief Elmore, the battalion chief Terry that was there, Lieutenant Daryl Davis, Sergeant Eddie Baker, Fireman Natasha Backett, Fireman Butler, Fireman Cousins, Firefighter Hubbard, Sergeant Tony Crane, Sergeant John Allen, Firefighter Lance Fettner, Firefighter Orlando Gray, Firefighter Jared Burke, Firefighter Kevin Clark, Firefighter Justin Danton, Fire Marshal Damian Jones, and EMS Division Chief Ron Taylor for the work that they did and the work that they do every day. And if I've left off somebody, I'm sorry, but your appreciation, the things that you all do every single day for this city that we take for granted. Again, that has done so much. I just want to thank you for all you all did Friday night.
We're here. Absolutely.
Amen.
And no one was injured in that fire.
Absolutely.
No one was injured in that fire. And it is a testament to the skill of our forces and all those that assisted them in getting that under control. So
They even had a group from Sandy Springs that came down and was handing out food and things to eat for the firemen. It was just thank you again, Chief. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
all right. Item 3A is the approval of regular session minutes from the meeting dated June 15th, 2020.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so many seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Item 3B is approval of the workshop session minutes dated June 15th, 2020.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any abstentions? Any noes? All right. And item 3C is the approval of the special called meeting minutes from July 10th, 2020.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. They pass. Thank you, gentlemen. We have no proclamations, resolutions, plaques, or announcements. We'll move on to item number 5, remarks to citizens. Ms. Moore, do we have any?
Yes, we have a couple. 1 second, please. Okay, the first one is from Jody Nicholson, and it reads, Jody Nicholson, property owner on West Oglethorpe. The maps we see keep changing. At a previous meeting, it was stated that all of our property included in the plan is owned by the city. Our parcels have been included in the plan at times. We would just like clarification about the plan for property that may be included in the plan that is not owned by the city. And that is it for Ms. Jody. The next comment reads as follows. This is from, Dr. LaTanya Martin of 4656 Parkway Circle in East Point, Georgia. And it reads, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Dr. LaTanya Martin Rogers, and I reside at 4656 Parkway Circle in East Point, Georgia. The purpose of these comments tonight are to solicit assistance in reference to Frank McLaren High School. Last week, I attended the Fulton County School Board meeting and advocated on behalf of 2 schools, one in East Point, Conley Hills Elementary, and the other in College Park, Frank McLaren High School. Both schools were slated for new construction when voters authorized the East Floss tax on May 24, 2016. There were a total of 4 schools on the list: Riverwood International, Crabapple Middle School, Conley Hills Elementary, and Frank McLaren High School. Riverwood has exceeded construction costs. However, it is slated along with Crabapple Middle School to open their doors on August 2021. Please do not allow institutional and historical inequities to exist in schools, from inadequate resources, inadequate representation, and inadequate facilities. Time and time again, the school district has resisted equitable distribution of resources. On June 22nd, 2020, I sent an email to the Fulton County School Board and our 3 representatives requesting that 75% of the $18 million be allocated to Title I schools. The majority of the schools are located in cities in South Fulton, which include College Park, East Point, Hapeville, and the city of South Fulton. I received an excuse that the funds would be allocated to offset the school system's budget and for the purchase of personal protective equipment. This is unacceptable. Immediately following that response, I requested that Gail Dean, Linda Bryant, and Kimberly Dove advocate from their seats on behalf of the students, parents, and the communities that they represent. Moving forward, I will continue to remain diligent in standing up for our schools and the children they serve. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Thank you so much for our time and consideration, but most importantly, your commitment to the communities you serve. Champion for Children, Dr. LaTanya Martin Rogers. And that is it for public comment.
All right. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
We're moving on to other business. Item 6A is consideration of an appointment to the College Park Main Street Association Board for Ward 3.
Yes, I'd like to make a recommendation that that my person for College Park Main Street Association be Christy Dean. Christy Dean is the owner and founder of Drip Through Coffee on Virginia Avenue. I think it's very important that we have someone from Virginia Avenue represented on the Main Street Board. So there's a short bio. She worked at Disney World. She's worked at the Atlanta airport. She employs a lot of kids. And if you go over there in the morning, you'll see her daughter, Grace, over there, who's in high school working. So she's got her head in the right direction for helping the youth of College Park. And she has been attending some of the Main Street Association meetings and been very, very instrumental in bringing up a lot of good points for everybody. So that would be my recommendation.
Want to make that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make it a motion that we accept her on the Main Street Board.
Is there a second?
that.
All right. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Sounds unanimous to me. I heard all four. We've got that done. Moving on to item 6B. Consideration of an action on a request to ratify authorization of the extension of the hazard pay program to July 31st, 2020 for the City of College Park Police Department, Fire Department, and Department of Public Works personnel.
I
Mr.
move to
Moore?
approve.
Okay. All right. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. So many seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
I think I heard everyone. Did everyone? Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. That is unanimous as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 6C, consideration of an action to review and approve a request for a conditional height permit for a proposed apartment building at 0 Harvard Avenue.
Now, Madam Mayor, I have a question on that one.
All right. I think this is Ms. Alexander's. She's taking the lead on this. So is the question?
Yeah,
It would be
it's for Michelle.
okay.
I gave it the center of the question previous to the meeting, and I don't know whether I got a response or not. But how high will this building be relative to the existing church structure there? That's my first question.
So the church structure is approximately 32 feet in height, and it's across the street. So this structure is proposed to have a height of 65 feet.
65 feet. And I had a little trouble figuring out where it said, you say across the street. Do you mean to the south of the church?
If I may, I don't know, Mr. Hicks, if I could share my screen. I tried to have the plan up and available, if that's possible. Let me give it a go.
This is the parking lot, correct?
Parking lot next to Marta.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Also,
Okay.
Artie may also want to weigh in here, but if you want me to show, I can share my screen.
That's what, Michelle, that's what I thought it was. But yet when I looked at the diagram, it wasn't clear to me that it wasn't in the same block as the church. So this is in the parking lot across the street, right?
There you go.
Okay. So my concern with that is that the aircraft landing at right over the area a bit to the south of that, when they cross Main Street, they're at 200 feet. So this building would be at 65 feet. So you're talking about 145 feet. And admittedly, it's to the side. I don't have a problem. Obviously, the FAA approved it.
Right.
But what the FAA has said in the past
Mm-hmm.
and which you can read in the approval. It does not require any special lighting, but if they voluntarily are willing to illuminate it, and I'm talking about a beacon, whether it's a flashing beacon or a red light or whatever the approved thing is now. In the past, council has, for some structures, required as a condition of the approval that they provide approved FAA lighting.
Lighting.
And we just approved several years ago taking down trees that were over by the Odyssey Care Facility. And we did that because the FAA was putting in landing system, instrument landing system that would allow planes to land with a ceiling of 200 feet. So that basically says you come out of the clouds at 200 feet. And I just personally would feel more comfortable if we required some kind of aircraft obstacle lighting on that building. I'm only one vote, that's just my opinion, but I have no problem with the recommendation for 65 feet if the FAA is happy with it.
I have two questions. One, how tall is the pad? And two, does it have this similar lighting?
I might have to defer to Artie or someone more knowledgeable about the pad, maybe Oscar.
Well,
How many stories it is?
okay. I'm not sure of the stories for the pad. I'm sorry, I'm not sure of the feet for the pad, how many feet the pad is, but as far as the FAA lighting, I don't think that it has FAA lighting on it or that it was even required at the time.
It wasn't required at the time. This isn't a requirement. It's just that this is closer than the pad
Yeah.
to the landing for the runway.
Right, they're catacorner to one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that some people call it something different, but I call it catacorner.
Me too.
Kitty corner. Kitty corner.
Sure,
Kitty
kitty
corner,
corner,
catty
catacorner. We know what we're
Yeah.
talking about. Yes,
Some
Right.
people say potatoes, some say potato.
that's right. Exactly.
Okay.
So I believe the applicant, so it may be that you're considering adding a condition regarding lighting per FAA approval on the rooftop. I believe potentially John Toppin maybe is also on the line as the applicant if you'd like to discuss.
I did see him here.
Yes, I
Yes.
am on. I'm John Hoppin with Tapestry Development Group and the applicant. Yeah, the height of the pad is 50 feet and the hotel next door, the Indigo, is 60 feet. So we're immediately next to it. So we're the same height, right? We'll be right about the same height as the Indigo, and neither of those have the lighting. We're open to studying it. I mean, I guess my concern would be, is it going to flash lighting into the pad and into the Indigo and kind of be a visual, or people in our apartments and all around kind of going to see flashing lights all night. That'd be my concern, but
Well, some of those buildings are illuminated, have lights that are just a solid red, not flashing. I wouldn't, like I say, I'm only one vote, and I'm not going to not vote for it because of that. If we decide not to require it, I just throw that out. If I were living there, I would want lighting. But then again, we know that I tend to be a little overcautious. So I wouldn't want anything that's going to disturb somebody with a flashing xenon light. But if it were just a solid red light, it's something that might be considered. I don't know whether that's in the FAA spec or not. I just throw this out for consideration, that's all.
Councilman Allen.
I was just going to say that in looking at the other diagram of the church is actually 3 stories with the little
Spire.
spire on it, and it's probably the same size. I think lighting might be good, but the FAA didn't put it in their approval. So, maybe it's something we can ask them to take a look at and review. But I think we ought to go ahead and approve the.
Yeah, I wouldn't vote against it, Ken. I'm fully for that project, but at least maybe we could put a statement in requesting that they do look into that. So
Yeah,
at
let's
least
do-
sometime in the
that.
future, we've
Okay.
said we ask them to look into it.
That's
All
fine
right.
with me.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
can- we can
is
agree
there
to
a
schedule
Is
I
there a motion?
request that we approve the height permit with the inclusion in there that they look at possible lighting. How would you word that, Ambrose, for?
Per the FAA standard lighting specifications.
That sounds good. That's
Okay,
what I-
so which
Because
of
it's not a requirement. We all know it's not a requirement by the FAA, and I'll second that motion.
Okay, so Councilman Allen made that motion. Are we clear on what the motion was? Is everybody clear? Ms. Moore, you good? Because Ms. Moore, you've got to be clear on it. And she's muted.
Chavela, you can unmute yourself.
I'm
All right.
sorry. I was saying yeah, but I was on mute.
All right. Okay. All
yes,
right.
I'm clear. Thank you.
All right. And Councilman Clay seconded that. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hold on one second. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention.
So the motion passes with affirmatives from Councilman Clay, Councilman Allen, and Councilman Taylor, and Councilman Gay abstains. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
6D is a discussion and an update on recently adopted ordinances and resolutions. Anything to add, Ms. Moore?
I do not. I'm open for questions if you guys have any.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Moore?
No comment.
All right. Moving along to item 6E, consideration of an action on an agreement with Peachtree Government Relations. Does anyone have any questions about that?
I move to approve.
All right. Is there a second?
A second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
All right. Councilman Gay is abstained. There are 3 votes in the affirmative. The motion passes. Item 6F, consideration of an action on an agreement with the Ferguson Group for government lobbying services.
Move for approval.
Second.
There's a second from Councilman Clay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention.
All right. Councilman Gay is abstained. There are 3 votes in the affirmative. The motion passes. Item 6G, consideration of an action on revenue enhancement agreement with Fincher Denmark. Mr. Moore, the floor is yours.
So I will also involve the city attorney, Winston Denmark, as this relationship is a separate consideration involving the firm of Fincher and Denmark. So the city of College Park has had a relationship with Fincher Denmark to this effect for a good 5 + 6 years or so, since I've been on board as city manager. And as outlined in the initial agenda packet that was previously presented, this is an opportunity for mayor and city council to become more familiar with the scope of the revenue enhancement agreement in terms of specialized services utilizing a forensic accounting professional, I should say, Mr. Marshall Mitchell, to identify revenue opportunities that would otherwise not become available to the city of College Park. A myriad of projects have been implemented to offer successful outcomes in this regard, much of which having to do with activities and transactions at the airport, as well as other considerations involving the city of Atlanta in terms of general scope. Winston Denmark, I would like for you to please chime in this regard, because the office of the city manager is being requested by Mr. Marshall Mitchell and others involved in this particular effort. And I just thought it would be appropriate that the entire mayor and city council as a board of directors be brought up to speed in terms of where we are, the merits for this approach, and should we consider moving forward or not. So Winston Denmark, if I can give you a couple minutes to chime in, please, to offer any additional input that might be deemed appropriate. You may also have some of your colleagues in position as well.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I would say that Marshall Mitchell was supposed to be on the call this evening so he could provide some clarity, answer questions, and give the precise nature and scope of this additional opportunity that he is presenting to the city. But I will say generally that Marshall believes that he has been able to identify certain revenue opportunities for the city of College Park, as he has done in the past. The one thing to consider is that these are opportunities that Marshall just has a unique skill set of being able to identify and locate and pursue. He just is kind of versed in local governments, and he's fairly tenacious in ferreting out these opportunities, chasing them down, getting the support and the proofs that the city is actually owed money. And he's been able to bring those opportunities to the city. I'm in a position of advocating for, but it's really a Marshall Mitchell deal. Marshall has a relationship with my firm. He's not an employee of my law firm, but he has worked closely with my firm for years. This is really an opportunity that Marshall is presenting to the city. It's his initiative, it's his work effort. And so it's under the larger umbrella of Fincher Denmark, but really it's a Marshall Mitchell deal. And I think that should be abundantly clear. I even talked to Marshall late last week and talking about kind of rebranding this as kind of a Marshall Mitchell deal as opposed to a Fincher Denmark deal. But that's neither here nor there for present purposes. Marshall has presented the task orders with these new opportunities he thinks are available for the city of College Park. And he's far more qualified than I am to speak on that. And I think Marshall was delayed in a meeting with a different client. But I believe those task orders and opportunities have been presented to the council. And so Marshall is far better qualified to respond to those than I am. But I just expressed the general parameters of what he does by way of revenue enhancement. And this is just another opportunity in that similar vein.
Well, Winston, it wasn't clear to me exactly what it was that was being added. And maybe I got a little lost in the weeds.
It wasn't clear to me either.
There's an agreement here that was done back in June of 2016, and apparently we're not being asked to extend the agreement or do anything different tonight. It doesn't sound like we're being asked to approve the agreement, but yet the agreement is attached, which is good. And so I'm not exactly sure what we're doing here tonight. And I had a specific question on some of the detail that was provided that just didn't make any sense to me.
I think Mr. Mitchell's calling in now. That's what Mr. Hicks is.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor, he's on now.
Okay. All right. Well, he should be able to answer some of these questions and talk a little bit about the fees that you take from the revenue that is found.
All right. Mayor and members of council, thanks for this opportunity to discuss a contract and a contractual arrangements that I think has been highly successful as it relates to what is produced for the city and the opportunity for our firm. About 5 years ago, we put together an arrangement that pivots off of three main principles. The first principle is that there's contract is completely at risk. There's no fee related to the contract and the activities related to the contract until there are revenues that have, one, been discovered and paid, or two, cost reductions that have been identified and realized. Secondly, the fee amount related to the contract is 25% of the amount that's discovered and or realized for prior years or years prior to the year that the discovery was made, and 20% tail for 7 years after the discovery. So, for example, if we discover that there's property that has not been returned to the tax commissioner, and the tax assessor agrees to go back 3 years and assess that property and collect taxes related to that property, our fee would be 25% of that amount that was collected. And the recurring amount, let's say it was $1,000 a year, then our fee would be 20% of that $1,000 for a 7-year period. The distinguishing aspects of this agreement are that after the tail of the contract is over, then the city, of course, will retain and realize 100% of that revenue forever. So there's a period of time that we devote, and trust me, this is very intense and difficult at times, and troublesome work for people on the other side to deal with. I've made myself a pest so many times, and I regret that, but I do it honorably. To get this on board, to get these revenue and cost saving matters in the city's coffers, and for the city to have realized almost $1.3 million since we have been doing this work, I think speaks for itself as it relates to what we've done. I will say too, as a result of doing this work and doing it this way, we've gained some insights on matters that present themselves for additional pursuit. For example, unaccounted for water or lost power that's generated, or use of right-of-way, or recovery of fees on abandoned vehicles that are sold. So there's just to name a few. So there are a number of matters that we understand how to pursue, that we pursued in other jurisdictions successfully. And some of those jurisdictions are your neighbors. And we feel that this platform that we have is a good platform. It extends the reach of the city, and it presents us an opportunity as a professional group to deliver services.
How many different agreements do you have with, how many other municipalities do you have agreements with in this regard?
6.
And they are?
We have the city of Hapeville. We have the city of Chamblee, Georgia. We have the city of Forest Park, Georgia. We have the city of Lake City, Georgia. And I'm gonna have to check. We have the city of Jonesboro. And I might have included College Park among the 6. So 5 other cities.
Is the deal the same in that you get 25% of the first year and 20% thereafter for the 7 years?
Well, no. The structure of the deal is the same. The percentages are different. In other
Are there
words,
any other cities that have lower percentages?
No. College Park has the lowest percentage. If, for example, the city of Chamblee, which has a shorter term, which has a 4-year term tail, the upfront percentage is 40%. And thereafter 35. Because they wanted a shorter period of time.
And thus far, who actually establishes the value? Is that you establishing the value of the savings, and then determining what the rate is?
Well, they're two dynamics. The revenue component, when it involves enhanced revenue, that kind of speaks for itself. In other words, that would be the tax assessor or contractual agreements. For example, if a firm should be paying you for use of right of way at 3% or 5%, and they haven't been doing that, then it's just a matter of X times Y. In terms of savings, we have not encountered a situation where we have actually brought to the table some contractual savings under this agreement. We have actually done that under our regular city attorney contract, which has been done pursuant to that particular arrangement. We have helped the city realize substantial amounts over the years, and recovered substantial amounts outside of this contract. Most notably, the $5 million that was collected from the city of Atlanta a couple of years ago for payment of prior year occupation taxes.
Was that through litigation?
It was through litigation.
Okay, so that's outside of this particular contract.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
I want to make sure. I mean, these are, before you got on, Mr. Denmark said that essentially it's under the Fenter Denmark umbrella, but we are also dealing with something that's kind of outside the scope of what he's doing as city attorney. So I want to be clear about how we're approaching this, how we're contemplating this, because certainly in this environment, we need to be cognizant that, you know, we're asking everyone to put the best deal forward. So certainly the 7-year tail on some of these is concerning to me. And if we are achieving some of those savings, if we're achieving some of those revenues in other forms, it makes me question the necessity of the agreement in the first place.
Well, I can't think of a situation inside of the city that I'm aware of that this kind of effort has been conducted internally and revenues have been identified and collected. This work has emerged out of the need to investigate, which I think is an appropriate word here, where there might be additional revenues, to look at the application, if you will, of actually Georgia statutes. For example, we've challenged the tax assessor, and we've had meetings with the tax assessors, which have included Mr. Moore, where we brought to the tax assessor's attention that the statutes, as it relates to assessing airport property, had not been properly applied, and we asked them to reconsider how that was done, and we discovered that, and we actually got the tax assessor to reconsider and to reassess these properties so that the taxes could be appropriately assessed and collected.
So what was the net benefit to the city in that transaction?
Well, I'd have to go back to the schedule. I offered a schedule, I believe, that was attached to the documents that are before you tonight. Let me just pull that up. Just it won't take me but just a second. There's a schedule that's entitled City of College Park Revenue Enhancement Summary. I believe you have that.
If someone can give me the digital page on that.
Would be on packet page 58.
58,
The
thank you.
executive session packet.
Yeah, it goes from November 2016. We've been at this a while.
Mhm.
It goes from November 2016 out to the current date. And specifically, if you'll look in February of 2018, there's a whole column there, starting with World Fuel.
Yeah, aviation fuel and then leasehold. So it looks like the total revenue looks about 1.2 million. The total fees, 254,000. And so we're expected to pay another $60,000 this year if nothing happens. Correct?
No. You don't pay. You don't pay if you don't collect anything.
Well, those are the tails. The $59,060. Is that
No.
revenue? I'm sorry. That says annual fee estimate $59,060.
Right. That's just an estimate based on what the history has been.
I see. So that's
But-
the outstanding tails, if you will.
Annually.
Correct.
See, if you look at the last column, it says the total annual revenue estimate.
Yes.
The city will collect almost 300,000.
Mhm.
295, 300. And our fee would be $59,060. 20%.
Mhm.
Now that was before COVID. we're all, BC is kind of taking on another meaning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, but that was before COVID. One example that I can say to you now is that, for example, there are 14 aviation fuel tanks that are in the city of College Park across the 285. And we discovered that there was fuel in those tanks that should have been reported as personal property. And it took us from 2016 to 2018 to get the assessor to put those parcels in the digest so that they could be billed and we could collect the property taxes on. If you'll notice, if you'll follow along that line, after the 79,000, that's gone down to 21,000, and then more recently to 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Because at the end of the year, they are making sure they manage their fuel inventory in such a way that they don't have that balance to pay taxes on. So we're also, right now, the city of Atlanta has changed its fuel manager for the airport, and we have a different relationship with them. And they have provided us a list of all the fuel that was in the tanks at the end of the most recent year, as well as the fuel that was in trucks and in the fuel lines that go out to the gates. We have turned that information over to the assessor, and we are awaiting them to complete their work with respect to assessing that fuel. And in all these conversations and all the stuff that I do as it relates to the assessor, I always keep Mr. Phil Latona apprised of what I'm doing. And if it involves something that Mr. Myers is doing, Jackson Myers is doing, I keep them involved. And I give a quarterly report to the city manager on all these open task matters, what I've done, what's happened, and what I expect to happen. So I think we put together a pretty good program. As you can see, some of these items that have started in 2016, you know, are pretty close to the end of their tail. And you know, you'll be collecting 100% of that, whatever it is at the time. But these arrangements are identical to the arrangements that we have with other cities. Shorter terms, no longer terms, but shorter terms in different percentages. But College Park has the lowest, I can say that unequivocally, College Park has the lowest percentage of any of the cities that we have this arrangement with.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Moore, let me ask, have you done any research as to how other cities outside of the other 5 mentioned tackle this issue of revenue enhancement?
Yes, it's generally hit or miss, not only throughout metropolitan Atlanta, the state of Georgia, but nationally. Typically what happens is that the city may hire a consultant to engage a one-time shot opportunity, if you will. In other words, the Office of the City Manager, financial analysis, and that may be revealed to suggest that a particular city is short on revenue in any given particular source. So they may hire a fiscal impact analysis consultant or some other firm, a forensic accountant, forensic auditor, whatever the case may be, to identify any opportunities to correct that shortfall on a one-time basis. So this is a little bit unique in that what Marshall Mitchell has offered the city of College Park and the other aforementioned 5 communities is a longer term period of time. So typically speaking, in a marketplace, to answer the question, it's a one-time opportunity. And from there, the city would be able to then bill or secure revenues on a sustainable basis. But in this particular case, it is a little bit different in comparison to other cities in the marketplace.
It strikes me.
I have a couple comments.
I'm sorry, Mayor, were you about to say something?
No, go ahead, Councilman Gay. Go ahead.
Well, since I've been on council, I had an opportunity to try and understand what his service provides. So I do understand some of the questions. I want to be clear that the money that we pay in fees, it's money that he found for us. So in other words, there's no real cost to the city other than the money that he's found us. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
So if he had not found any money, we wouldn't. So it's money that he found.
I understand that, Councilman Gay.
Excuse me, I was talking, and
I understand that. I just you directed that comment toward me, so I was saying I understand. Please proceed.
No, ma'am. I'm not in a debate with you. I'm talking publicly to the item of consideration, and I had the opportunity to sit on council for 6 years and also try and understand what services he provides. So that's what this conversation is about now. So the point I'm making is that, like, for example, I recommended that we look at ways to find new revenue. I mean, case in point, we pay $79,000 to a lobbyist that there's no tangible evidence that you can't even measure it. You can measure it maybe with the brownfield grants, perhaps. But the point is, there are a lot of professionals that we pay, a lot of vendors we pay, where we can't always measure the city's outcome. So At least with this vendor, we can measure it because there's direct revenue to measure it with. One of the things that I'm interested in is looking at transportation revenue. We have now new warehouse transportation community, and I would like to task this firm with finding ways on how to identify impact fees. So that's just an example. Last point I want to make is, with everything, if we have to involve litigation, that may be an additional tool to get those monies. I don't know if finance, I don't know if the accountant or the CPA or the forensic CPA can do it all. There's a company called Tiller Hess Towers Parent. It's called Tiller Hess Towers Parent. They do these same things. They charge some at the fees, some hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they find upwards of multi-million dollars for organizations. So what he's doing, city manager and all, it's not that unique. It's just bringing a new tool to our shed to help us find much needed revenue in a very difficult time.
Thank you, Councilman Gay.
I had a couple of questions. I just wanted to know, he said there were several other cities, and you talked about the percentages that the other cities got. How long does their contract go for? Or, our 7 years you're talking about, what are the other cities run? You mentioned one with 4.
Well, the city with the lowest number of years is Chamblee. That's 4 years. All the rest of the agreements, including the city of Hapeville, 7 years.
Okay. Second question is if there is litigation and we have to pay extra into litigation, does your money come out of the total amount minus the litigation, or before we pay our litigation amount?
No, the litigation is separate and apart from this project and this arrangement. In other words, the litigation would not be a deduct unless you intended to pay it from. Well, I would assume that if we end up litigating something, there wouldn't be anything on the table as it relates to what we would have collected. In other words, if there's a dispute, then and the folks that we're dealing with wouldn't voluntarily file returns or make payments, then we wouldn't have collected anything, at that point. So whatever we would realize through litigation, the litigation cost would come out of that amount before our percentage would be applied. Was that your question?
Yes, it does.
So let's take that $5 million. I think you said occupational tax from the city of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of revenue enhancement, what was your takeaway from that? What was your recovery?
Well, that was not done under that was litigation that had been going on for about 7 or 8 years.
So that was aside from this.
Yes, ma'am. I was just saying that when you made the point about other opportunities to realize revenue, I was just chiming in on that a bit.
Gentlemen, I'll be honest, I'm uncomfortable with this 7-year tail. I think that's an awfully long time. And I think as we explore our options in this regard, that perhaps it's not a bad idea to see what the marketplace is offering in regard to revenue enhancement.
Well,
those are my thoughts. And the 4 of you have the opportunity to do whatever you'd like. But I will say for the record, I think this is an arrangement and this is an agreement we should reconsider. We have the opportunity to do that, and having the city beholden for 7 years at 20%, seems like something we should at least compare and contrast with what else is in the marketplace.
Well,
Let me make a couple comments. We've had this discussion on council, gosh, I don't know, several times, and made adjustments based on that discussion. We've talked about why not have somebody in-house? Isn't that the job of one of the employees to ferret this out? And what we concluded was, I think it was referred to maybe by the city manager as what typically other cities do is kind of hit or miss. I've had experience with Marshall over the years and been party to discussions where he presented things, and he does bring about a lot of expertise to this area. And I realize that we're trying to count our pennies. Lord knows I am. But this is money, as has been stated before, that we wouldn't have otherwise. And frankly, I don't believe internally that we would have the ability to dedicate an employee with as much expertise and time on their hands to pursue this. So this is truly found money. Now, what we're debating about is, well, how much should we pay for that found money? And my feeling is, if we were to bring in a consultant, as city manager, I think mentioned, that would do a study for us, let's say, we'd be paying that consultant very likely up front something. And I presume that they would get some percentage of it, maybe not, depends on who you work with and what their deal that they cut. I think, because I've questioned this deal myself.
I'm just saying, can we do better? I don't think we know the answer. That's all. That's
okay.
If we come back to the same conclusion and this is the best the arrangement, great.
And I have no problem of looking into that. I'm just trying to explain that we have had the discussion before, and I don't know that we've gone out and done an extensive search of everything that's available in the marketplace. And it's always worth taking another look.
Well, Councilman Clay, I would like to say to council that, prior to me becoming an elected official, I've done something similar, cost containment, trying to find ways through municipalities. And you're exactly right. Consultant fees can be quite high. We've charged in excess to 25 to 30%. Attorneys charge 33%. And if they litigate, they charge 45% of your money. Here again, these are dollars that we wouldn't have. We don't have the expertise. We've been through, at least since I've been on council, 6 finance directors. We don't have that expertise. We do have this institutional knowledge. I'm going to make a motion that we charge this firm with this task, and that we come back to it this time around and just try and measure the results. That's my motion.
Well, I'll second that motion because I believe in what has been done. But I'll also say that I have no problem in doing what the mayor has suggested, that we look into other possibilities in the marketplace. It doesn't hurt to look around periodically, but I'm quite comfortable with. I had one question on the detail sheet that was attached, but I'm quite comfortable. I think one of the things we're looking for, city manager, is that we approve this task order tonight because it's above your approval rating. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And I'll try to continue to offer direction to that effect. And that was my input to Marshall Mitchell when that consideration was brought to my attention. Although the original agreement as approved by Mayor and City Council enables me to authorize those transactions, I believe it is appropriate for me to bring it before Mayor and City Council for the reasons noted.
Well, I think it's good to have, the discussion. The mayor is right. We've got to look at a lot of things that we've been doing because our survival is dependent on it, literally. And so I will second Councilman Gay's motion that we approve the task order that is before us tonight. And as a separate issue, I think I would support taking another look at what's available out there. I don't have a problem with that. That's my second.
All right, so the task order, Councilman Gay, your motion is to approve the task order?
Yes.
All right, and Councilman Clay, you've seconded that.
Correct.
Any other comment?
I'm just trying to understand, you're approving the task that we do it, that we go out and check?
No, there's a
is-
task. Ken, there's a task order attached. There's two things. There's about a 20,000 bill due upon receipt, which I assume the city manager has checked out and is appropriate to be paid.
Yes.
And then there's on packet page 64, there is a task order to look into annexed areas for possible revenue enhancements. And that's what I'm assuming that the motion and second is on, that task order on packet page 64.
That's correct, Councilman Clay.
Okay, so just to make everything clear for Shvala.
Okay. All right. So, Councilman Allen, are you clear?
I'm clear. The task order is to go out and try to find somebody that can.
No.
No, the task order
is a new revenue enhancement opportunity that has been brought forward by Mr. Mitchell. And we're approving that to be added to the list of the various things that he's working on.
Oh, okay. And now I got that. All right.
And the looking into is, can we do better somewhere else?
is that the consensus of the body that we should explore other
If
opportunities
that's
as well?
the consent of the body, yeah, but that's not part of this motion.
I understand. Well, we'll tackle that in just one second. All right. So we're all clear on the task order and the payment of the invoice. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. And is it the consensus of the body to explore whether or not this arrangement is the best and see what else is out there?
Okay with me.
Okay with me too.
Councilman Taylor?
I'm cool with.
All right. Councilman Gay?
Oh, sure. I'd like just, give the vendor time to do his job and then compare apples with apples for sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. That puts us back to our regularly scheduled agenda. We're moving on to public hearings. And if you wish to participate in the public hearing, you have to join the Zoom call. We are having a public hearing this evening to consider the rezoning of 6 West, formerly known as Airport City, to the PD, Planned Development Zoning District. This impacts wards 1 and 2. And Ms. Alexander, are you going to lead this conversation?
Yes, please. Hi.
Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
If you're not speaking, could you go ahead and put your phone on mute, please? I think we're getting some feedback from some of the folks that are on the phone.
Okay, next time they have one, I'll definitely, I'll holler at you.
And I'll call Audrey and find out what I'm supposed to.
Mr. Hicks, can you go ahead and mute that?
Yep, I'm looking for.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's 470-6363.
I'll check with her too.
Thank you. Ms. Alexander, go right ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. What you have before you is actually 2 items. One is a recommendation to do a minor amendment to your comprehensive plan. so that you incorporate into that the adopted and approved Airport City Master Plan that Council approved in August. That would give a strengthening for the rezoning the way state law works. It references zoning and as it relates to the comprehensive plan. So as the officially adopted version of the city's vision, we are recommending that you formally modify and make an amendment, a minor amendment to the comprehensive plan. The larger item has to do with the actual zoning request. So this is a matter that was brought before Planning Commission on January 27th. And as you know, since that time, the consultants have been commissioned to dig deeper and come up with a series of district plans. These are properties that are known as 6 West. Your packets, and we are submitting into the public record the complete list of all the properties that are comprised of the subject area, as well as the zoning map that shows what the zoning currently consists of. So these are properties boundary by McDonald Avenue, Princeton Avenue, West Harvard Avenue, and Victoria Street. That's over on the eastern and northeastern side. Oxford Avenue and Camp Creek Parkway on south boundaries, and portions of Herschel Road on the west, and then the Camp Creek, the stream itself, on the northern border. So this is around 312 acres. I have a presentation if you would like me to present it, but just wanted to walk through the report that you have and the several attachments that are included with it. So the report looked at what our zoning code requires for the planned development district, and there were some constraints that we are requesting to have waivers from. And so we're requesting that if you do consider approving it, that you approve it with the conditions regarding concurrent variances, as well as height modifications to be allowed. And then we want to make sure that the uses that are allowed are included from some of the existing districts. In addition to what you have in front of you as the staff report, several attachments include the development of regional impact. So this was a very intense traffic study and impact review that was done by the state and regional agencies. So we got the benefit of all these transportation experts from MARTA, GDOT, GRETA, ARC, coming to review with us what is needed to make sure that the infrastructure supports the development here. So that result is attached. They found it they approved it. They did have recommendations about how to condition the project, and these were in keeping with the findings of your consultant team. So Sizemore Group and their consultant team, including Michael Baker, which was the firm that did the transportation analysis, are still preparing the district plans. And this, they'll be coming to you at a later date with the specific district plans and all the financing. What we're asking you to consider tonight is just the rezoning, because this entitles the property to the uses that you've approved already. If you do consider approval, we're recommending that you add the conditions to that it is conditioned to the set of code, the controls that are in your packet. These are district restrictions and design requirements that will create what the district plans are showing, your concept plan, and also the DRI requirements. So we make sure we have it codified at what the improvements are, along with the concurrent variances. So I'm happy to walk through a PowerPoint if you feel that would be helpful, unless you just want to jump into the public hearing and hear from the public if they have any comments.
How long is the PowerPoint?
I can make it pretty quick. I could under 6 minutes.
All right, why don't we go ahead and do that before we do public comment?
Fair enough. So if I could request to share my screen. You cannot, so I have to get permission, and it looks like I'm getting that now.
You have it.
Thank you. So let me make it full screen. 1 second. Appreciate your patience as I load it up. Security, okay. Can everyone see that? The 6 West rezoning? Great.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
So just for the anyone in the audience who isn't familiar or who's watching, the area that is known as 6 West, the properties that we're discussing, there's a locator map. We're reminding everybody the existing site is the area that was part of the buyout area. And I want to show the existing districts that are comprised of the subject area as they are today. And all of these would be rezoned to the PD commercial and restricted to the set of conditions we recommend. Anybody who has a residential property or is still using their property would continue to have the right to continue that property. They will not be impacted by the rezoning. I always want to honor and remind folks who haven't been aware of how this area impacted the neighborhoods that were formerly there and how those neighbors continue to meet. And we want the spirit of that to be reflected in these district plans. You have a vision that was adopted along with your airport city master plan that I was recommending you include into your comprehensive plan. We were so impressed to have hundreds of people participate in our meetings to refine the goals and to give us feedback. It was very supportive throughout. Over several hundred people participated real time in our meetings. You have now a refined concept plan. It has been slightly reconfigured to reflect what's actually on the ground. So the consultant team has been looking at with engineers and their design team the configuration because of topography, because of hydrology, stormwater. All of these have been taken into account. So we have you'll be having before you some more concrete ways for each of the parcels to build out. The biggest moves that changed honestly had to do with parking. We'd love to talk to you more about that. We'll come back to you with a specific plan about parking, but it is very sophisticated what we're recommending so that we can phase out having on-street parking until we get enough development and density that we can pay for and support the structured parking that we know the site's going to need over time. Those are some of the big moves. And then these are the program that you saw last time in June, and I'm not going to walk through all the details of it. This is really just a reminder, especially for folks maybe who haven't seen it before, they have that confidence about the detail and the level of the level of detail that's gone into this technical revising of the site plans. So each one of these districts have very specific build out and requirements. I'm going to pause on this screen because you have a document that the city planner is going to have to enforce. Anybody that comes before you or wants to start building anything site by site, the city planner, your city engineer, the folks who do these reviews have to make sure it's going to create that built environment that you're approving with the district plans. And so that's the detail also that we're recommending you condition it to. It has to do with setbacks, it has to do with required parking, and it has to do with also heights. And there is another document, it's called a pattern book. And the pattern book also talks about architectural requirements. I'm going to also pause. This is one of the diagrams. We're going to have more diagrams. This only expresses in illustrated form what the text says. So we're asking permission when you adopt this document, we ask permission to make administrative changes to it, only to make illustrations easier to read. So you see in front of you the incremental, this is one of your districts, the incremental district coming off of Main Street. And these are the standards for that. And we're going to have diagrams for all of the districts like this. I put an edit through. I have a build to zone on the districts and spoke with our consultants about the need for that and how much of a control it is. So we're asking that this is amended from what you have in front of you. We can achieve the built out without having that particular note added. And thank you, Councilman Clay, for raising that. Part of it is of the district standards, we put the sample residential district. The Sizemore group was not scoped to look at the residential, since we do have a partner that's looking to work with us and a layout that makes sense to us and we see meets the intent of the airport master plan, and we're including it as a reference conceptual site plan in the documents in front of you. I just wanted to point out, as I mentioned, we went through the development of regional impact process and a number of all of the intersections that would be impacted, all of the roads to the degree that they would be impacted, and the volume of traffic were analyzed. The program and plan is going to be presented in phases, and phase 1 is what the primary build out that we're presenting to you. And we'll be coming back to you. Well, the consultants will be coming back to you with a financial plan and a funding plan at a future date. But the requirements, what needs to be done to support the development, is included in your packet, and we recommend you include it as a condition. So therefore, wrapping up, as I said, we're asking that you approve the comprehensive plan, to amend it to include your Airport City Master Plan that was adopted in August. And we're recommending you approve the rezoning of the site with these conditions related to the development district standards and the DRI approval, as well as the variances and conditional height permissions. And that concludes. I hope that was less than 6 minutes. I'd like to stick to my.
I wasn't really holding you to it, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. And I believe the Sizemore group is here as well, and Artie may have comments. Also, Rob McPherson is very familiar with the engineering side of it, and he's graciously agreed to be here tonight as well.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions from council?
I have a number of questions. Do you want to have the public hearing first, or you want the questions first?
Let's go ahead and get your questions answered, and then that may answer other people's questions. So.
Okay. All right. Let's start with packet page 106. And Michelle, I sent these to you, I think, with some of my other comments.
Okay.
So if you look down at the bottom of the page under State Route 6, Camp Creek Parkway at Conley.
Yep.
And the requirements that have been set on this by Greta.
Yes.
Don't these requirements imply widening of Conley at Camp Creek? I don't think it can maintain all those lanes.
So I asked Rob McPherson to take a look at that earlier today. Rob, do you mind commenting or helping us respond to that? And Michael, okay.
Yes, Councilman Clay, Conley will need to be widened. It is required to have two lanes that are southbound to turn left onto Camp Creek Parkway, and one designated right turn lane. It will also require restriping of Camp Creek Parkway to allow for two left turn movements off of Camp Creek Parkway onto Conley to go north. And Conley would have to be widened at that point to accommodate those lanes and transitions back to the two lanes further to the north.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was concluding. So how do we do that? Do we, is it eminent domain? Do we have the right of way to do that there? How is that? We obviously have to meet that requirement in order to proceed.
Correct. I think the two southbound lanes and the right turn lane, I think we can get those within the existing right of way. We might have to get a little bit of right of way. I think it's parking ticket that's on the west side of Conley, starting at their entrance driveway and then going south. But based on the GIS documents, the right of way does widen out at that intersection on the north side. The two northbound lanes to accommodate the left turn movements off of Camp Creek Parkway onto Conley going north, that might require a little bit of right of way there to, again, transition the 2 left turn lanes into 1 lane to then move further north.
Okay, and thank you, Rob.
Mhm.
You're said exactly what I was thinking of. Okay. Packet page 149. There we're talking, now we're in, I think your bailiwick, Michelle. We talk about the dimensional standards and uses, and at the bottom of that table of section 3, it says SFD residential, and that says 7 feet minimum setback. So I assume that 7 feet means 7 feet on either side of the lot boundary. So we're talking about 14 foot separation. Is that correct?
Well, that is the way it is presented, correct. It would be a setback required on each property. We actually would have wanted that. I appreciate you pointing that out. To have the maximum flexibility, typically fire marshal tells us 7 feet between building footings or building foundations. So I actually would want to reduce that. So it should say 7 foot total, so that it is not 14 as it currently.
So we're not going to have 14 feet between buildings.
Correct.
Now, what type of residential are we talking about there?
So that was the mix of the master plan that we had up. I can.
No, you don't need to bring it up. Just tell
Okay.
me. Are we talking about the development at the north end?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So are we saying
It's a
that
mix of
the houses on the north end will be 7 feet apart?
Well, it's saying it's a minimum. So they have not come in with the building footprints. We have the lots laid out as a conceptual diagram. But as I said, I would like to have them have maximum flexibility, and it should not have said 7 foot for each. It needs to say 7 foot total in that table. The layout shows single family home detached as well as single family attached. And the lots have not been, laid out to that level of detail, the distance.
Okay, well, that was a concern, because I think the council at one point had a concern about how close those houses would be.
Okay.
And whether we could meet the density requirements with an adequate spacing between the houses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I picked up on when I read through all the details.
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't look right to me.
Right.
I think
Excellent.
that's something. So I'm not sure what. Well, council's going to have to talk about this after we've had the public hearing.
Right.
But I'm not sure whether we want to squeeze it down to 7 feet between houses. I'll just throw that out as a comment. And I think that was, the others were nits that I gave you before, and you cleaned up some of the documentation.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's all I had.
All right. Anyone else? All right, hearing none. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. If you wish to comment, just go ahead. There is a raise hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And if you go ahead and do that, we will be able to see and acknowledge you. And Mr. Hicks, if you can help me, because I think you can probably see everyone a little bit better.
Yeah, and I'm looking for those now.
All right.
We only have 2 callers that are on the phone. The rest I've moved over as a panelist, so I don't see anybody raising their hand.
All right. Let me give everybody just a little bit more time. As I said, you need to join via the Zoom link if you wish to comment during this public hearing. And we'll give you the opportunity to do that.
Apparently she's over there sometimes.
Anyone else have anything to add from council?
Stand by.
Okay.
There's Mr. Powell here.
Okay.
Just go turn.
Anyone else have anything to add from council?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Powell, you are looking at this online, I think, and I could hear my own voice. So if you would go ahead and close out what you're looking at the meeting on, and just because there's going to be a pretty wicked feedback. Mr. Powell, you are looking at this online, I think, and I can hear my own voice. So if you would go ahead and close out what you're looking at the meeting on, and just pretty wicked feedback. Mr. Powell, you are looking at this online. Is Mr. Powell still here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Powell?
Yes.
All right. If you could turn down whatever you're listening to the meeting on, because we're getting feedback on that. But go. It could, if you wouldn't mind, just state your name for the record. All right. If you could turn down whatever you're listening to the meeting on, because we're getting feedback on that. But go.
If you mute, you won't be able to talk.
It could, if you wouldn't mind. All right. If you could turn down whatever you're listening to the meeting. Okay. All right. They're muted for now.
Yeah, I muted him for now.
Mr. Powell, if you just want to go ahead and mute the Facebook or YouTube or whatever else, if you're ready to proceed, you can go right ahead. I think you're on mute right now. If you go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear us?
Yes. If you're on mute right now, if you go ahead and unmute yourself. We're still getting feedback from the actual meeting, though. I can hear myself in your.
We can't figure out.
We don't see how to unmute. We either mute ourselves or unmute it. That's all we can do.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
If you're on mute right now, go ahead and unmute yourself. We're still getting feedback from the actual meeting, though. I can hear myself in your. How are you watching the meeting?
We either mute ourselves or unmute it. That's all we can do.
Yeah, they just dropped. I think they were either watching it live or YouTube or Facebook, because that's where the feedback comes from.
Right, exactly. I was just hoping they could mute that in order so we wouldn't have that constant loop. Let's give them a second to get right back on. But if there's anyone else on council that wants to comment on where we are, that's a great idea, Ms. Alexander, writing the question via chat. That's a great idea. And if anyone else wants to do that as well, we can certainly accommodate you that way as well. So did anyone else, Councilman Allen, Councilman Taylor, Councilman Gay, anything to add regarding?
The 7 foot concerns me a little bit between the buildings. That just seems like it's awful short, a short distance. 7 foot's not very long at all. So that kind of concerns me a little bit. 14, much better.
All right. Okay, looks like Mr. Powell's back.
Yes, we are back.
All right, great. The floor is, go ahead.
My main question is, I have property, very small pieces of property there in this area that you are considering developing. And I know that if this begins, my property tax are going to increase dramatically. Is this how I don't know what to ask. I don't know the question to ask. I'm just saying that I don't want my property taxes to be increased. And I don't necessarily want a rezoning on this property.
Okay, and for the record, could you state your name? Are you
Yes,
Douglas Powell?
I am Mary Powell.
Okay, thank you. I
I
appreciate
am the
it.
property owner.
Okay, all right.
So, is this property going to be just taken by eminent domain, or how is this working?
Mr. Jones?
Yes. If you own property within the 6 West development area, you will continue to own it as we develop in and around the 6 West development. I feel that property values will increase within the 6 West development as well as around the city of College Park in this particular area. The city has no intentions of taking your property from you or using eminent domain. There are some areas throughout the development where there will be requirements for infrastructure work to be done. Only in those particular areas would eminent domain be utilized. At this point, we are not foreseeing any eminent domain, at least in the phase 1 of this particular project. Phase 1 is anticipated to be somewhere between 4 to 7 years of development. I would be happy to meet with you and the planning department to find out exactly where your property is situated, because all I know is that it's within the development site itself, but not necessarily know exactly where the parcels are that you own. Did I address your question, Ms. Powell?
Yes, you addressed my question about the eminent domain. Are my property taxes going to increase when this development begins and the rezoning begins?
Well, I can't say that your property value will increase, but my experience in being in economic development and development in general is that when areas are redeveloped, property values do increase. Can't say how much it will increase, but over time, property values do usually increase. Within this particular area, some of these properties have been about in 2012, we were acquiring property in this area for somewhere in the neighborhood of about $10,000 to $15,000 per acre. Since that time, property values have increased, and we've been purchasing property for more than that amount. So it's all about demand in this area, since there is 311 acres available for development. There's a significant amount of property that is available for development, but I can't necessarily tell you how much your property value will increase over time.
Okay,
But
and so
I'm almost guaranteed that it will increase over time, though.
right, and so my question is about taxes. Do my taxes increase on this property that I currently own?
I think I'm sorry, Mr. Jones. I'm
sorry.
I
Go ahead, Dora.
apologize. I think if your property is within this development, that over time, that there would probably be an increase in your property taxes.
Right. Okay.
Maybe not immediate, but
Not-
over the course of a few years.
Yeah, over the course of a few years, then you're saying it's a 7-year development plan?
It's a longer plan than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just
I mean, we're planning out until I believe 2040?
Yes, it's a 25 to 30 year build out, and we're looking at phase 1 being somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 years, in which I'm not sure where your property is located. It
Right.
might be located in the phase 2 area, which might put it off 15 to 20 years, but without knowing where it's located, I can't really tell you when your particular area might be disturbed by development.
Okay. All right, you've answered my questions and I appreciate you taking my questions. Thank you.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
evening.
Does anyone else wish to be heard for the public hearing? Just go ahead and raise that, click on the raise hand button and we will acknowledge you. Mr. Hicks, do you see anyone?
No, I'm looking, no one else.
All right.
Nope.
Okay. All right, then at this point, I will close the public hearing. All right. Do we have any motions?
I move to approve.
We've got two aspects of this to approve. So I want to make sure that we,
Let's approve the first item first,
all right,
which is the rezoning, I believe.
Comprehensive
the
plan.
comprehensive plan
I'm
is the
sorry, the comprehensive plan. I'll move to approve that. I thought they were in the other order.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Councilman Taylor and Councilman Gay.
I voted.
You vote invade. I apologize. I didn't. And Councilman Taylor? Do we still have Councilman Taylor?
Yes, he's on.
Okay.
Councilman Taylor.
You muted?
No, he's not muted.
Oh, not muted.
All right. We've got 3 in favor. Did anyone else hear Councilman Taylor?
No.
I didn't hear him.
Yeah, he's not muted.
I'm in favor. You hear
Okay.
me?
Thank you, sir. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. All right. That is unanimous. All right. It passes. Thank you. All right. So the second issue is whether or not to
The rezoning. I move
Yes.
to approve the rezoning
PD plan development.
for the PD development plan, yes.
All right. Is there a second?
May I ask, with conditions as in the staff report?
Yes, with the conditions in the staff report.
Thank you.
And perhaps we should add that we take a look at that distance between the homes.
Right, excluding that measure. Agreed. We should.
All right. With those conditions, is there a second?
Second.
All right. From Councilman Taylor, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. I believe the next item is 8A, consideration of an action on an agreement for financial consulting services between the City of College Park and Piper Sandler.
I move to approve.
A second.
Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. I thought I heard all 4. Thank you. Item 8B is consideration of an action on a request for approval of bids received for renovations of the interior of the lobby, office space, and kitchen of the Brady Recreation Center. These are phase 2 improvements.
I'll move to approve that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
I believe that was all 4. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, it is approved unanimously. Item 9, unfinished old business. I don't think we have any, do we? All right. So that moves us to new business, consideration of an action on a request to formally adopt an ordinance adjusting the sanitation and water and sewer rate schedule.
I move to approve.
Is there a second? I'm sorry.
Second.
So many seconds. Everybody seconded. All right. I heard Councilman Gay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Item 10B, consideration of a municipal reimbursement agreement for CARES Act funding.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Denmark, any reports on your end?
Not this evening, Madam Mayor.
All righty, thank you. Mr. Moore, we're moving to the city manager's report.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor. In addition to items A and B, I'd like to offer a brief reminder that there will be a fairly succinct city council meeting Wednesday, July 29th, 2020 at 6 o'clock in the evening. And the purpose will be for mayor and city council working with the office of the city manager, as well as our strategic plan facilitator, Adam Saslow, to create an environment such that the mayor and city council can outline strategic goals, objectives, and priorities based on the panel and modular feedbacks we all received back in late April. So I will be visiting with him tomorrow. We will have a follow-up executive team meeting discussion on the subject via Wednesday's meeting amongst ourselves, myself, and department directors, so as to prepare accordingly. I just thought I'd take a moment to offer a friendly reminder, but you all have been scheduled accordingly. Otherwise, the top 10 delinquent property taxpayers and that for the delinquent utility customer accounts, we are in position to address any specific questions or concerns that might exist. Otherwise, I yield at this time.
The only question I have, city manager, is of Althea. And I think you sent something out, but it came out very late and I haven't even looked at it. Where are we as behind? How far are we behind on utilities now?
2 million.
I'm sorry. You were a little. You can hear you now. Yes.
1.2 million.
1.2 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? All right, hearing none, we're going to move to the report of mayor and council. Is that right? Is that where we are? I believe that's where we are.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Councilman Clay.
Okay, I have one item that is a little confusing. I think I've talked to everybody by phone off and on over the weekend. I'm trying to see if we can put something together for the back to school occurrence in August. We obviously aren't going to have, I'm not going to have my Ward 1 back to school pool party where we flip burgers and the kids go swimming and we give out book bags and school supplies. And each of the other council people have something else in their ward, some the same or similar or some different, but the whole idea is to pass out things to encourage the kids going back to school. What I was trying to do was to facilitate primarily my kids in the housing authority. And I was talking to one of the ladies at the housing authority about that. And we got into a long discussion. And the long story short is that it's hazardous for people to be going to individual homes, for example, if we do it from homes. We're not going to have a city event. I believe the College Park Elementary School is going to have some kind of an event, and they're working with State Farm on some kind of a cooperative program. And what I'm suggesting, if we can do it legitimately, and if we can't do it legitimately, maybe we find a way to make it legitimate, that we take the money that we would have spent on book bags and provide it instead of to individual events. Those of us who have students in the housing authority, in the College Park Elementary School at least, I don't have a solution for the high school at this point, but for the College Park Elementary School, if we could direct the money that we would give for book bags to buying book bags online via State Farm, and we have to get the details on that. I'm still waiting for Principal Otway to get back from vacation, and I need to talk to Ms. Ray Coleman and Jamel McKenzie about how we can do that. But the concept would be for council people who have kids at College Park Elementary from their wards to give their book money to buy book bags, possibly supplies for the kids that are going to College Park Elementary. And I realize there are kids at College Park Elementary that may not be from College Park as well, although I don't think there's a whole lot. I'm trying to find that out. So I don't have an exact plan. I don't certainly have a dollar figure, and I don't know to exactly what extent we're going to get supplies. What I would like is some kind of consensus on council that we can do that. And I know we've had discussion about gratuity clause and so forth. And Mr. Denmark, Winston, what do we have to do if I have to have a virtual event so that we have a joint event with the school so that we can do this legitimately to help the kids out? What does it take? Can we do it? What do I have to do to make it happen? What do we have to do to make it happen? Because it's not just me, it's the other council people. Councilman Gay particularly has a number of children at College Park Elementary.
Sure. Councilman, I hear you loud and clear when you say that if there's a way to do it legally, we want to do that. It's probably something that I'd have to work with you or someone else closely on and try to, there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that maybe I don't fully understand. So I think that we just kind of need to, I understand your objective, and I just need to set myself to the task of making it happen.
Okay, and I'd like to feedback from the rest of the council as to whether they're comfortable with doing this.
I'd like to chime in, Councilman Clay. I think that's a wonderful idea, and I do support it. On the other hand, I did a little research, and I found out that I have an equal portion of children that go to Woodland Middle School as well as Banneker. And I looked at my sign-in sheets for my last 3 book bag events at Phillips Park, and it's just not all College Park. I support College Park. In fact, I taught there just before they closed for COVID. So I support that school. I work very close with them. But I got to try and find a way to support all groups of children.
I totally agree. And if I have students at Woodland Middle, which I should, we should also try to do something for them. But we have, if I recall, each year we order about 250 book bags per ward, if I remember rightly. I think we get about 1,000. And maybe it's more than that, maybe 1,250 if you count the mayor. I'm not sure what the numbers were. I don't know, maybe Terrence can help me with that. But it's in that ballpark.
It is.
And I think the last time we ordered book bags, we got a good rate, something like $5 or so a book bag or what have you. And I think that's what the rate is actually with State Farm. So, and maybe State Farm has a relationship with Woodland also. We haven't explored that. But I've been working on this like for 3 or 4 days, and I haven't been able to talk to everybody that I need to, but I just like to make it happen if we can, particularly given the COVID-19 situation. There's a second issue that the mayor and I talked about today that is on my mind. And I think it may actually be more important than book bags and supplies, because I'm not sure how much kids need book bags. It'll certainly give them a place to put their books. And if they go back to school physically in the second semester, then they will definitely need a book bag. But I have a concern that with so much going on online, of how we make it possible for the children to connect. And I know the schools, and the mayor and I talked about this again, the schools have given out devices to some of the children, but I worry about the bandwidth connectivity, because if you're trying to browse and bring in video of any significant size, a couple or 3 megabits isn't going to do you very much good. So again, I'd like the consensus of council for me to work with Mr. Michael Hicks and consider the possibility, if we can do anything to extend our Wi-Fi network. And I'm thinking, of course, in my case, I'm thinking in particular the housing authority. The other council people should be thinking in terms of the apartment buildings particularly. We have a network of cameras throughout the city. They are connected by microwave. We have, I think, adequate bandwidth on our fiber optic access to the internet. So what I'd like to explore with Mr. Hicks is whether any possible feasible way that we could at least create some hot spots around the city on a temporary basis. I'm not suggesting we go out and buy citywide Wi-Fi, but on a temporary basis that we could maybe make available in some of these areas where we have a lot of density. I can't solve everybody's problem, but where we have a lot of density, like in apartment buildings and the housing authority apartments, perhaps we can do something. We'd have to have a login procedure, because a lot of these kids do have basic Comcast service. We arranged that several years ago. We were able to get that in the housing authority, and Councilman Gay, I think we got it in some of the apartments, as I recall. But that's where I'm looking to explore, and I'd like agreement that I can sit down and talk to Mr. Hicks, and it may not pan out. Some school districts have brought in school buses and made them Wi-Fi hotspots. I know this from attendance at previous National League of City conferences and what have you. So there's some other ways that the school district can do it, and whether we'll be able to get them to do anything about that, I don't know. But if we can do our part, we may be able to help out some of these kids.
That's happened even closer to home. I mean, Cobb County's done it. I think Marietta City Schools did it as well.
Oh yeah,
So,
when I say
mean,
National League of Cities, I don't
yeah.
mean
Mhm.
it's elsewhere in the nation. Everybody,
Yeah, it's
been approached.
I would love to see Fulton County Schools do something like that, especially understanding that some of our population, especially those in Title I schools, aren't as well resourced as some of their peers, because it is imperative, as the entire school year, this first semester of the school year is digital, that kids have access. And if we are not providing them access, we are not setting them up for success.
I agree. I think we need to be looking into it and checking out, again, hotspots throughout the city. As far as the book bags, got no problems with the books bags, for College Park Elementary. We need to be looking too at some of the places up on Godby, so where they could give some out. But I think both items you brought up are very worthwhile.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Councilman Clay?
That's it.
Councilman Taylor?
I don't have anything.
Councilman Allen?
I'm going to let you talk about the census, Mayor. I'm not going to get. But, Deputy Chief McCrary, it's great to see you there tonight. Thank you very much for coming, and thanks to all your folks. They do a great job. Just please wear your masks, social distance. Everybody thank the first responders every time you see them. They do such a good job. But that's all I have.
All right, Councilman Gay.
Sure, I just have a few things, and I'm going to piggyback on what Councilman Clay said. Look, I want to thank council person in East Point, when you come into Ward 4 from East Point off of Sun Valley, that council body paved approximately 10 streets in that community. And, you know, I look at what it takes to get one street paved. So however they did that, kudos to Joshua Butler and at large council person for those residents. I'm getting calls, Chief Williford, Colonel Block. I'm getting calls about the tractor trailer cabs coming down White City Road after they drop off their load. I don't know why that's a feasible route, but we've asked Oscar Hudson and the city engineer to work with GDOT on getting signs, and the city managers are supporting us on that. But we need to get those signs up, and we need to police, and even thought about doing a site visit with Natalie Turner to talk with the logistic people to let them know the importance of starting to drive down into those residential communities. We also getting complaints that South Fulton code enforcement, as well as the police, is not doing such a great job on enforcing prostitution, drugs, loitering, solicitation on White City Road. If you come down Janice Drive into Ward 4, you start where the street forks and just look down, you'll see a lot of contraband that collects at night. It is spilling over onto Caven Road. So we really need to be very vigilant about that. I have 2 school-aged children in Fulton County schools, and book bags may not be that important, but I will tell you what I've noticed is important is that they need an opportunity to just together some kind of way together after hours. There are no school sports. So we need to start thinking through recreation, through the Georgia National Convention Center, ways to get our community to get involved in something that they can do social distance. I don't know what that is. I'm talking to my children about starting a safe group. That's where their peers, somewhere we can find ways that know that they're positive. But that's the biggest challenge we have right now is just getting our kids out in this pandemic. That's what I have for right now.
Okay, thank you. One, I would like to extend our condolences to the family of Congressman Lewis. He was a stalwart supporter of our community and the entire 5th District for decades, and his legacy and his impact on not only this community, but the United States and the world will never be forgotten. And we all suffered a great loss with his passing and that of the Reverend C.T. Vivian. So just wanted to make sure we got that out there, because I think that it was certainly terrible news to wake up to on Saturday morning that he had transitioned, but we know that he fought so hard for our community and everyone else across this great country. As Councilman Allen foreshadowed, I am indeed going to talk about the census, because it is imperative that we get our voices heard. And the conversations that I'm having on the local and the state and the federal level, they are literally looking at how many people we have here based upon census counts to determine how much money we might get. At this point, we're sort of stuck in limbo. We're stuck between the county and the state and the feds, and we're in a holding pattern. But the state has allocated for cities that aren't in counties that have received direct allocations $174 per person. Think about what that means for our community. They only know those numbers because of the census. They only figure out what per person means because people go and they fill out their census. We desperately need you to do this. We are at about 40% of our community having participated thus far, which still puts us last in Fulton County. And we're not much better in Clayton either. So we need to make sure that we are being represented. Go to my2020census.gov. You can fill out the census right then and there. It is easy. It takes you less than 10 minutes, but it means so much for our community and getting the community that we deserve with schools, roads, all the things that all of our council members have been talking about all night. It matters. You matter, and it matters for this community. So again, just going to urge you to please do that as soon as possible if you haven't already. Thirdly, the COVID-19 testing will not go forward tomorrow at the GICC. There have been some significant delays. In fact, I'm waiting for my own results from that from 2 weeks ago. And so we wanted to retool. I believe we'll be teaming up with another partner to make sure that we can get your results as quickly as possible so you can make decisions, make the best decisions for you and your family. To that end, we had a meeting, a specially called meeting on July 10th. And in that meeting, we instituted a mask mandate. And the following Wednesday, Governor Kemp issued an executive order that suspended all municipal ordinances and resolutions to that effect. We hope that he'll reconsider that and give us the opportunity to, because we do know what's going on in our community. And I can tell you, because I get the numbers on a daily basis, that we have seen almost a full third of our cases in the last several weeks. So we know the COVID-19 is spreading here in this area in Metro Atlanta. And we urge you, do the things that you know will keep not only you, but other people safe as well. Wear a mask when you are out. Practice social distancing. Practice good hygiene. Because even if it's not about your life, you could be saving the life of someone you never meet, but whose life is just as precious and important as your own, and is just as important to their family as you are to yours. So I urge you, please make sure that you're doing everything you can to help combat this virus, because ultimately we want to see businesses thrive. We want to make sure that we can get back to normal as soon as possible, but that normal is going to look different, and it depends, how quickly we get there depends on you. So please do your part. Make sure that you're doing everything you can in regard to COVID-19 to stay safe and stay at home if you can, if possible. So that's all I have. Anything else to add? All right, I think we have a little bit more executive session. So I'll take a motion at this time.
So moved. For executive session, real estate, litigation, and personnel.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. All right, gentlemen, join me on the other link, and we will come back here when we conclude. Thank you.